when I was young, and I had a conversion. If you know anything about my books, I had a conversion when I was 21. Gave my life to Christ on April the 6th, 1975. And from that point on, I've been really trying to live my life as best I can for the Lord. Very in love with the Lord and doing my best. Well, a year or two after my conversion, I was at a retreat at Maria Stein, Ohio. And it was a weekend retreat, Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday. But one of my good friends from Laramie, in fact, they both went to Miami. He was a fraternity brother, and he married a girl from Laramie, and she went to Miami too. And they were getting married. Of course, the wedding's on Saturday afternoon, and then Saturday evening they had a reception. I was on retreat. I thought, well, I got to go to this wedding because he's such a good friend, so I go. I'm driving from Maria Stein over there, but I really wanted to be at the retreat. Anyway, as I'm driving over, I said, Lord, I feel kind of out of it here. I'm just going to go to the reception, but I don't have a date. Now, 45 years ago, when a young guy went to a wedding, you had a date. And I don't think I ever went to a wedding without a date. And in high school and college, I had lots of dates. I was a chick magnet, Of course, these guys know me, I wasn't always bald. I used to have an afro, Oh, you laugh, I can prove it.
It's true.
It's true.
Like your kids, right?
Oh yeah, I can prove it. I mean, right there he is. There's the chick magnet from 1972, baby.
Yeah.
Right there. Anyway, I felt odd going to the wedding reception without a date. And I said, Lord, do you care? I'm driving along. Lord, do you care that I don't have a date? I said, I know you do, but you know what, Lord? If you want to do me a favor, could you give me a sign that shows me that you do really care that I don't have a date? That might sound silly, but it meant something to me. And in the Bible, there are people who ask for signs. Abraham tells his servant, go to Haran and get Isaac a wife. Okay? And he goes off and he's in a strange town and how am I supposed to find a wife? He prays and he says, Lord, the first woman to come to the well here and offer to water my camels, she'll be the one. Well, turns out that is the one. So in the Bible, he asked for a sign, and there's other people. Gideon asked for a sign. Lots of people in the Bible asked for a sign, something specific. Well, I thought, if I did have a date, I would be square dancing. Because that's one of the really fun things to do, is to square dance. And I said, and of course, I'm just thinking all this. I'm not talking. I'm just thinking as I'm driving. I got about a 10, 12-minute drive, 15-minute drive. And I said, Lord, that'll be it. I said, have a girl come up and ask me to square dance. Now, 45 years ago, the girls didn't do that. They didn't ask the boys to dance. Today, the young girls, they just, beat them over the head and drag them home. But that's not the way it was. That would have been very unusual. And so then I got to thinking. I thought, sometimes at these square dances, they need somebody and they drag you out of the crowd. I said, oh no, Lord, I don't want that. I want to know that this is you. So I want you to have this girl to ask me to square dance at least a half an hour before the dance. And then I thought, sometimes they have 2 or 3 sets of square dances. and I want to go back to the retreat. So I don't want to wait. I said, Lord, have her ask me a half hour before the very first square dance. And I said, while you're at it, Lord, make her really pretty. Make her the prettiest girl there. Okay? And
Nothing arrogant about you.
I'm just asking.
While you're talking to God.
Yeah, this is not a problem for him. I'm just asking. And I said, Lord, if you don't do this, I will always love you. I will always obey you. I will always have faith in you. I said, but if you want to do me a favor, I'm telling you, that is one of the keys to having God answer your prayers, is to say, if you want to do me a favor. God is a really nice guy. And he loves to do favors for you. You never tell God what to do. In the spiritual life, that's like rule number one. You're not God. He is. So he gives the commands, not you. Okay? So we're not putting God to the test. When you ask for a sign, you ask for God. You're not. That's the total opposite of putting God to the test. You know, the devil says, prove it. You know, turn the stones into bread or whatever. We don't do that. We say, Lord, I believe in you. I will always believe in you. But if you want to do me a favor, I'd like to have this. Nothing wrong with that. And so I said, let me have a great time dancing with this girl. And I drove a little bit more, and I thought, well, I just hope they appreciate the fact that I left the retreat. I don't have a date. I'm going to this wedding reception. I said, somehow, some way, Lord, let me know that they appreciated that I came to the reception. I made the effort. Okay, I get there. I'm at the wedding. We eat supper. You're sitting there at the table talking with your friends. And wouldn't you know it, this absolutely gorgeous blonde girl comes over to me and says, you have got to square dance with me the very first square dance. And this is like an hour before the band started. She had a date. She was there with a date. You know, and it was some girl that I had known back in college, but I had no idea. I mean, it was just really cool. It was very good. And when this dance came, we danced up a storm. We had a great time. So much fun. And a few days later in Rushi, some of my buddies were saying, who was that gorgeous girl you were dancing with? I said, you guys, you don't know how to pick up chicks the way I do. And, well, the dance was over, and I wanted to go back to the retreat. And so I'm leaving. I'm walking across the floor of St. Michael's Hall, and I'm thinking to myself, Lord, you did great on the girl. But you didn't do anything on the appreciation moment there, you know. And I thought, that's okay, you know. My hand just touched the door to exit. I heard my name, Henry. I turn around, here's the maid of honor coming across the floor. And, oh, I'm so glad I caught you before you left, Henry. We just wanted to tell you how much we appreciated the fact that you left the retreat and you came to the wedding. It wouldn't have been the same without you. God hears it all. He knows it all. And I walked out to the car in the parking lot, and I felt so good. And because I knew that God cared that I didn't have a date that night. That was what I asked about, and God had answered my prayer. Like I said, now, I wasn't talking verbally. Here's another thing to learn from this. God hears every thought. You might find that scary, but God knows every thought we think. You don't have to say a prayer out loud. All you have to do is think it. If you can be communicating with God all day long, just letting your thoughts go to him. And you can ask for a million things. You'll be praying for people all day long. God, you don't have to have a specified verbal prayer. You can pray. God knows your thoughts. And you can intercede. You can ask for things. You can do whatever. And so I knew that God had heard me. That's really life-changing. That all my life I have known that when I think that prayer, God hears it. He knows it. And God answers every prayer. Sometimes he says yes, the way you want it. Sometimes he says no, a lot of times, because we don't know what to ask for. And other times, a lot of times he says, wait. Same thing parents say. Sure, you can go. No, you can't go. Well, maybe later. And we just need to be patient and always be willing to do God's will. Well, I've told this story for 40 years in my high school religion class that I taught at Lehman to the freshmen when we were going over that story about Abraham and his servant there, you know. And I would tell them that they could ask for a sign, and kids, you know, they were freshmen, and a lot of them did. One boy, can't remember his name, he had red hair. He came back the next day after I told that story. And he said, hey, Mr. Cardonier, he said, he came before school, he was all excited. He said, that stuff about asking God for a sign, it really works. He was so excited. He said, it really works. Well, he wanted to go to the homecoming dance, you see, and it was coming up in a couple of weeks, and he wanted to ask Susie, but he didn't know if he should ask Susie, and you know, he's just a freshman boy, scared out of his mind. And he said, I prayed last night, and I said, Lord, if I should ask Susie, give me a sign. And he thought, what should? He said, Susie has hardly ever even talked to me, and she's never offered me a piece of gum. So if tomorrow Susie offers me a piece of gum, that'll be the sign. Okay? He told me Susie's locker is at the other end of the school from his locker. He said, I'm standing by my locker before school, and there's a bunch of people talking and everything. And he said, and here Susie comes by, and she just stopped and said, hey, you want a piece of gum? He was over the moon. I don't remember if he asked Susie or if they went to the homecoming. I don't remember that at all. I just remember he was so excited that God heard his prayer. That he now knew when I talk to God, he hears me. He might not always say yes, but he hears me. God is real. You know how profound that was for that kid? For the rest of his life, he knows that God is real. So many times as a teacher, you tell other people, well, that's good, but when someone experiences it themselves, that's when it changes everything. But to experience it yourself,